All right, so here's the CougarBoard question of the week, and I think a lot of people are asking about this, and a lot of people are going to watch Friday night's game between BYU and Bellarmine for the answer. And if you're not familiar with CougarBoard, it's the largest online community of BYU fans with thousands of posts daily. And when we're on there quite a bit too, and some people post nice things about us, and sometimes people post things that aren't. But
that's fine.
That's the world we're in, and we welcome it. So the question is from insider subscriber user named Dilbert. And here it is. You ready?
I'm ready for it.
Do you think there's any risk in the addition of Adams and Baker into the rotation? Marcus Adams is the freshman who transferred from Kansas, went over to Gonzaga, took a look, and came here. And he just got cleared by way of the court ruling that cleared everybody for the season who's waiting for a multi-transfer waiver. And then Dawson Baker, who transferred over from Irvine, who has had a foot issue all summer, fall, and is just now back to where he's healthy enough to make his debut, which he did the other night, scored 6 points.
And looked really good, by the way.
So that's the context of this. Do you think there's any risk that the addition of Adams and Baker into the rotation could disrupt the great chemistry that this team has? And what do you think needs to be done to minimize any such risk? And then Dilbert goes on, how difficult is it to make those changes without disrupting the chemistry? And whose minutes change the most with the return of those two, plus Fouss as well? We expect Fouss to be back in time for those first couple of opponents in the Big 12, January 6th, maybe, January 9th at Baylor, probably. So those are the loaded questions.
Yeah, you know what? And those are all, like, I don't know that anybody knows the answers to all of that. And I think Mark Pope has some concern about the same things that Dilbert has some concerns about, right? Like, because the chemistry's been so good and he's figured out the rotations and everybody's not complaining. Even Jackson Robinson, who's the leading scorer on the team, is not complaining about coming off the bench, right? Because he's playing 24, 25 minutes off the bench, right? So you saw Dawson Baker and just got a little glimpse. Really skilled. If he's 100% healthy, he's a huge asset. And, you know, we've talked about this. Brian Dutcher from San Diego State told us he may be the best shooter on the team, which is crazy because this is a team full of shooters, right? Right. So you got to find minutes for him. Where do his minutes come? Just a little from multiple guys, right? A little from Trevin Nell, a little from Trey Stewart, you know, which Trey's not playing a ton of minutes right now, but a little from Trey Stewart.
A little from Dallin Hall because he can play the point. Yeah,
and so I don't think that anybody loses a bunch of minutes because he can kind of fill in and you can rotate him in.
Now, if he comes in and he's got a hot hand, then he stays in.
Then he stays in more minutes. Like, you earn minutes on the floor by how you're playing, right? And that's a nice thing to have. And he's also a pretty good defender. So, Fouss, that's not that tough. Like, Fouss was already there. Atiki's minutes go down a little bit. He'll still come in and play some defense.
Khalifa will be affected a little bit, but you could put both of them on the floor the way he distributes the basketball.
And Khalifa could play the 5 and Fouss could play the 4, which then that affects Waterman a little bit, right? But again, there's enough minutes to go around, and you're going to find minutes for Fouss because he's a dominant force. When you throw the ball into the post to Fouss, people have to double team. But what it does allow you to do is when you have different kinds of matchups, where you need to play more athletic out on the perimeter and you have to go guard teams out on the perimeter, you play Waterman a little bit more, and Fouss doesn't play as much, right? Or Tiki doesn't play as much. You play Khalifa, who can chase out to the perimeter.
Where it gets tricky is with Adams.
Adams is the tricky one, and that's exactly right.
The thing with Adams is he's had that ankle injury, and so he's not in the kind of shape he wished he would be in. He's not in the kind of shape we will see him in. Right now, he just has had maybe 3 or 4 practices with the team.
He's not ready for extended minutes, right, Dave? I mean, we've watched him in practice. But
he's got a gift.
He is unbelievably explosive and strong. Meaning, he is a big dude that can get off the floor.
He's the kind of guy, and we don't say this often, but he's the kind of guy that won't be here for 4 years. And it's not because he's going to another school. It's because he's going to go to the NBA. Now, is it a year? Is it a 2? Is it a 3? Nobody knows. But this is why, one, they're being careful with him, and this is why they're so excited to have him, because he is a Colin Chandler type talent.
They get Colin back next year.
Game-changing type player, and we don't want to put too much on him, but we can tell you this: we've been in practice.
Yeah.
We watched him shoot. We've watched him dunk. We've watched him smile and
I
get
thought
around.
I thought he was going to pull the rim out of the backboard on one of his dunks.
And he screams, this guy's going to be good. It's going to take some time. Even Mark Pope told us, hey, give me 6 months with this guy. And
he said
an elite
he's an elite player in 6 months. But here's the thing. It's almost a blessing that he's had this injury and that he's a little bit, like, he probably needs to lose 15, 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? So he knows that too. So he's not going to go, oh, I just got cleared, so you need to play me 25 minutes a game. He doesn't have that expectation. It's almost a blessing for Mark Pope because he can say, we got to ease you in and we got to get you in shape. You're going to play yourself into shape. Your minutes can increase. So it's not a problem he needs to worry about right now. It's a problem if it becomes a problem halfway through the season when he's in good shape and he's playing himself into minutes. And you know what? And then it doesn't become a problem because if he's increasing minutes and he's increasingly productive, the other player's going to go, oh, okay, that dude's really good. He deserves 18 minutes.
The challenge for Adams, I see, moving forward is he's going to play a little bit on Friday night, we anticipate. We're going to see a lot more of Dawson on Friday night. We do know that because Mark said, he wanted to give him a taste the other night. He ended up playing 8.5 minutes and then figure out how he fits into the rotation. And also, his foot's got to feel better now that he's been
and he needs to play more minutes. And then
he can still do a medical redshirt if the foot doesn't quite feel right.
Right. He needs to play more minutes on Friday. And then if it doesn't swell on Saturday, then he needs to play more minutes the next week against Wyoming.
And the challenge for Adams is you got Bellarmine, okay, and then you got Wyoming at home on December 30th. And then you get into Big 12 play where rotations might tighten as opposed to stay loose, and where you're not in an opportunity to go, hey, why don't you go in and let's just go see what happens. Go take 4 minutes. Where you can do that against Bellarmine, you can't do it against Baylor.
Right. And you know what? Mark may end up thinking, wait a minute, all of these guys can play. I have 10 guys or 9 guys. Typically a rotation is 8, right? I actually have 10. So you know what? I'm going to play 10 and we're going to press all over the floor. Because rarely do you have 10 guys that you trust that you could put in where you could press a higher percentage of the time. And maybe that, they're running down the floor and shooting threes and defending and pressing. If he really has 10 guys that are equal, maybe we see him do that a little bit more. Remember, Adams played the 3 and the 4, mostly probably the 4, right, at 6'8", and at his...
In high school for sure, because he's just dominant.
Right. And so really Baker plays he can play the 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Right, he can play the 1, 2, and 3, so he's different.
But think about the bench.
Fouss is a 4-5.
Right now on the bench, you got Robinson, you got Baker, you've got Richie Saunders, who might be the MVP.
He's playing great.
You've got Fouss, who's on the end of the bench, getting better.
Tiki's playing off the bench.
You got a Tiki. Then you got Adams. Now you're 11. Now you got 11 guys. Because remember, you have 5 already out there. And that's a lot. That's a lot when only 5 can be on the floor. And I'm just fascinated to see. This is a problem we didn't anticipate. But it's here, and it's a really good problem to have, but now you got to deal with it.
Which coach was it that told us he thought this was the most talented team Mark had because of the depth? I can't remember which coach we talked to, but one of the coaches. It wasn't Dutch, and it wasn't Jonas. I can't remember which game it was.
Was it Evansville's coach?
It was Evansville's coach, I think it was. Said this. Looking on film, this looks like the most talented team Mark's had. So we asked Mark. We told him the Evansville coach said it's the most talented team, and Mark was like, "I've had some more stars."
Like his first year.
Right. He goes
second.
But he goes, I don't know if I've ever had more guys that can play. Like, so he's admitting, like, I've never had 11 dudes this good. He's had really, really high level top couple of guys, and then next level, and then next level, where he's like, I've got 11 guys.
Yeah.
And right now he doesn't have a superstar, although Jackson Robinson's starting to play like one.
Starting to get some NBA traction.
Right. And
he
so,
should. He's shooting lights out.
And he's got guys like Adams can be that kind of guy. Colin Chandler is an NBA talent. And I don't throw that out lightly. Like, people were talking to me back when they had, Haas and Mika and all these guys, and I was just like,
the dude
these are borderline NBA guys. They're not like so I don't just go, oh, this is an NBA guy, but Mark's got some NBA guys now. Possibly. They got to progress, right? Yeah. But they got think about Jackson Robinson. He's an NBA prototypical. He's 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, almost a 40-inch vertical jump that can shoot, that has tremendous lateral quickness.
And that's a great attitude.
Right? That's that, you know, and he needs to get a little meaner and a little more intense to play at that level. But physically, he can play at that level. And BYU hasn't had a lot of guys where they come in and you go, yeah, that's like an NBA body guy right there. Colin Chandler is a 6'5" point guard that has phenomenal handles, that can shoot it from as deep as you want him to shoot it. And then if you push up on him, he's going to cross you over and go into the rim. And if there's a 7-footer there, he's going to elevate up over the top of him and throw it down 2 hands on top of his head.
Maybe not right after he returns from his mission, but soon after.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? That like they have some athleticism that they haven't had. Even Noah Waterman, it's 6'11". He's reminding me a lot of Freddie Roberts, only maybe a better shooter from the outside. Now, he's got a long ways to go to be Fred Roberts, who played in the NBA for a number of years.
But he is the leading rebounder.
But he's 6'11", and he's bouncy, and he can shoot it, and he can handle the ball in space, and he can run the floor and finish. Think about BYU over the years. How many times they don't have a lot of guys like that, and all of a sudden they've got a bunch of them. Adams is 6'8", extremely strong, and when he loses the weight he needs to lose, because even with the weight on, he can jump out of the gym.
Yeah.
They don't get guys like that very often.
So Friday night at 7 o'clock Mountain Time on ESPN Plus, BYU and Bellarmine will be on the call, and we'll all watch this together. And we are excited to see.
I want to see Dawson Baker
Adams.
play some more.
We're excited to see Baker, and we're excited to see this team, which is number 1 in the country in shooting threes and making threes. And their bench is number 2 in the country, averaging 40 points a game, and they're going to get some more with Baker and company. And then they're also among the best in the country in defending the three.
Yeah, they get out and
they're rebounding.
They're there on the catch, and they're really good. And their offensive rebounding prowess, the way that the strategy they're using, this wedge rebounding, is getting it done. And you and I, like all these shooters, and then you and I have been watching Baker in practice the last couple of practices, and we keep looking at each other going, wow, this dude can shoot it.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful shot.
He's been on a mission to Guam. He gets it all. He loves being here. And hey, do you still have your shot? Yeah.
Well, yeah, we said.
Because he'd been slowed by his foot, but that didn't affect his shot.
I said, are you still shooting it? He goes, yeah. And I go, are you shooting it great? And he kind of pauses. He's like, yeah, I'm shooting it great.
He is shooting it great. He's got it. The way he shot, again, it was 3 quick buckets, but there's the guys who are shooters look like shooters.
Yes, they do.
And he looked. Dilbert, I hope you enjoyed the world's longest answer.
Yeah, that was the longest answer we've ever had on the CougarBoard
Wise Guys history.
But it got us into a good topic because this basketball team is playing it